I'm going to take the profits from the good traders and I'm going to give them to you. It's the baggie refund plan. Bernie's baggies. Drug discovery doesn't need quantum computing at all. First of all, drug discovery is a very small part of pharma, believe it or not. Even though it sounds like it's the whole shebang, it's not. Drug development is the whole shebang. When you actually have to take the drug and do clinical work, that's 90% of the cost. Quantum can't help us with doing clinical trials, unfortunately. The 10% of the cost of developing a drug in discovering it and stuff like that, we don't need quantum for that because we can design drugs very easily. It really doesn't make sense, optimize a drug that much. It's kind of a nice to have, not a good to have or great to have. Maybe in theory, you could get a slightly highly more effective binder to a ligand, to a protein. But the problem with that is that even in that theory, you still have other considerations when you do drug development, like PK. Like drug-drug interactions and metabolism, right? So the quantum system doesn't know that. It just can tell you like what is the best way. The rigetti guy doesn't know. He doesn't know anything about pharmaceuticals, so they're just LARPing. No, check. Svatoslav. There's too much human work that needs to be done. Humans need to be evaluated in clinical trials, so computer simulations don't really work. Cisco CEO just dumped on quantum. Are you joking, Sabir? Is that what happened? About 50-50 IonQ and rigetti, and then I'm short. Call it like 40-40, and then or 45-45, and then 5 and 5 in 𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗘 and QSI. Quantum computing and QCI, which is QUBT. It kind of makes more sense to short QUBT and 𝗕𝗢𝗡, but they're all bad. I mean, they're all trash. Arguably, you should be equal short all 5 of these stocks and just call it a day, arguably. You can just email me for the analyst job, martin@dl.software. Microsoft operates a cloud. Microsoft's job is to try to do as much cloud as they can. Microsoft doesn't do anything in quantum. So they're offering, some guy at Microsoft has to be in charge of Azure Quantum. His job is to increase sales of Azure Quantum. He's not going to do a great job of that, unfortunately, because nobody wants to, but he's going to try. That's his job. It has nothing to do with Microsoft being bullish on quantum. The Cisco guy did say decades. The Silicon Valley veteran agrees with NVIDIA. It's a very important technology, but it's further out. Tech industry is in the decade of AI. Who do you think of? Quantum has been around for 7 or 8 years. I've been watching really relevant companies, IBM, very focused on it. And everybody has said it's 5 to 10 years away. She just wants to play. I am not closing my shorts. I'm buying some inventory. We always see people get excited about technology and realize it's further out. And then about the time you start to say it's not going to happen, it does happen. I think Jensen nailed it. When he used the number 15 to 30 years, I think that he sent a very direct message. I'm not smart enough to say, is that 5 to 15 or 10 to 20? He's probably as good as it gets in the area. I do not see it in the short run. And the comments did not surprise me at all. This is the decade of AI. If you're betting on quantum, you're betting on a much bigger window. You have to think out at least 10 years. He keeps trying to pivot to, they keep trying to ask him about quantum. You got Cisco, NVIDIA. By the way, these are 2 out of 3 of these guys are Kramer's boys. Yeah, some people say it's impossible too. That theory for sure, and these guys are just being nice. That's definitely a possibility. Rigetti CEOs, yeah, we're not that good. What is useful anyway? What does that mean? Useful. He's really trying to philosophize that. Useful? I like how all these industry leaders are like, yeah, you shouldn't be investing in quantum, especially these lower quality quantum. Like, when they say the 15 to 20 years, they don't mean IonQ and Rigetti. Okay? They mean Google. They mean NVIDIA. They mean IBM. They mean like miracle startups. It's Nevuary to never again to never-ending story. That's the time frame for IonQ and Rigetti. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's never on the near side, and it's, in the best case scenario, it's in your dreams. These are the quantum companies that are going to succeed. Quantum companies that are going to succeed are companies that haven't even been started yet. Companies that, we don't even know about. Maybe a private company, maybe a company that's in a lab at a big company or university. They can't even get a computer online on AWS. Imagine being a cloud, trying to do cloud, and your computer hasn't been available more than 5% of the time. I'd be so embarrassed. And apparently these guys are really embarrassed of their company. They don't even go to the office. That's what the Scorpion Capital guy said. I don't know. People ask me what what the stock price is going to be today? I have no idea, right? Zero, zilch, nothing, nada, no clue. You might as well do a random number generator. I have no idea. Greatest album of all time. That's a tough discussion. By the way, that's what guys in jail would talk about all the time. Every single day, the same discussion. Every day is who's the best basketball player of all time. Now, I think the GOAT is Kobe. Like, nah, you crazy. The GOAT, LeBron. Then the old head who's been in jail 65 years, he's like, man, you young bucks don't know. It's Will Chamberlain. And I'm just sitting here listening like, why am I here?
𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗚.
And you want to lose money. You want to lose it all. It's a bubble's a bubble, man. Nobody listens to reason in a bubble. I think people don't know who John Chambers is as much as they know Jensen and Zuck, you know? Yeah, short eye on Q. Now I got this coal miner job. You're making too much money on rigetti. You're making too much money on IonQ. I've been a senator from Vermont for about 233 years. And your capital gains this year will be 105%. That means when you make money, you have to give it all to me and then an extra surcharge. That's how they do it in Russia. And I believe it should be done here in America. Now, turning over to Elon Musk. To the bag holders, I say this. I'm going to take the profits from the good traders and I'm going to give them to you. It's the baggie refund plan. Bernie's baggies. I used to do it in jail. Guys really found it funny. And I'd also wear a yarmulke while I did it. Some guy had a yarmulke. And they were like, yo, Shkreli, you need this? I put the yarmulke on sometimes. I'm open to long ideas, of course. I'm just really consumed with this trade because I think I can make like 5 or 10 million on it. So, of course, I want to stop looking at these stocks. They're not even real companies.
𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗚.
They're like an insult to the stock investing trade. The stocks were up so much, I was willing to short even more. Well, the stocks were up a little bit, so I started selling my calls.
𝗤𝗏_𝗘𝗚.
Those long calls as my hedge.
𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗚.
I kept selling the calls. I was out of my calls. Stocks kept going up anyway. But then I started shorting calls. A margin requirement for shorting calls is pretty significant. So, but I was willing to do it. I figured this was it. This had to be it. Unless it was going to retrace the whole move back to 50. Bitcoin, apparently, they're saying that maybe there's not going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. I have no opinion on this matter, but there was somebody who said that they were only wanting to do a strategic reserve for U.S. crypto. It has to be U.S. made, built in the U.S. by U.S. people. And
𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗚.
Bitcoin is not that. But of course, the maxis that donated to Trump want, but we don't know who made Bitcoin. Was it a long-term process to undermine the U.S. dollar? Is that really something we want to
𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗚.
rush into supporting? Who knows, man? I don't know, dude. I don't know if there's a specific time frame, Pascal. I mean, if we average other stocks, does that really help us? Before they truly go back to their original price, it may be a year. But if they go down every day between now and then, I certainly don't mind that. All right, so the question is on JNJ is this acquisition they just announced yesterday. What are they thinking and how big can this drug get? So this drug expires in 3 years? How in the world? Why in the world would they buy this? They got 3 years left. No, I think GLP's prices will stay relatively flat, maybe down 5% a year or something like that. Road Tiger, I don't want to talk too much about the people I know or don't know, but you got to stop looking at investors or business people as celebrities. They're all normal people, and none of them are going to do you any favors. That's one of the most misunderstood things, I think. No, 𝗔𝗍 is being acquired by Johnson & Johnson, so they already made the agreement to acquire the company for like $11 billion, but the patent's up very soon. So I don't really understand that. You can't secure another patent. Once you invent something, you can't invent it over again. Wish you could. Kind of curious what 𝗔𝗍 would say in there. 10K. Let's see. Okay. RE48839. That's a method of use patent. That's never valid. Yeah, 2028. They agree with me. It's 2028. How am I supposed to make my drug last without patents? Okay, they settled? Wow. 2040? Yeah, we have more than enough of those, Jaden. More than enough. I just don't know what about these patents would make them wait till 2040. None of these are that challenging or interesting. Method of use is always obvious. Well, it's telling the other ones haven't settled, I guess, but maybe sometimes they give you an extra year. Yeah, I wouldn't have settled. But I guess, they're hoping that this depression data, maybe they're trying to do, and they're going to try to do the long-acting injectable. I'll give them till 2031. Comedy, I'm very focused on the quantum right now. I covered a lot of AVXL to just stay short quantum because of its AVXL can wait, quantum can't. It's a quantum emergency. These stocks are up 50%.
Order partially filled.
Look at this volatility, man. Wow.
Order filled.
Can't wait till we can get our hands on a rigetti machine or an IonQ machine. Gonna really need your help so we can. Well, I mean, we're always gonna be fair. If it works, it works. We'll admit it. Always got to be fair. But it'd be crazy if we got our IonQ put their machine up and we started testing it and it was broken. Oh, I'd be so happy. Because the IBM machine seems to work, in your opinion, right? Curtis is a quantum expert for anybody that doesn't. IBM secretly delayed, like I went to the Wayback Machine and I saw that IBM actually pushed out their timelines. They were saying they were going to get 1,000 qubit machine out this year. I don't think they are. They're talking about their 2025 milestone is going to happen in 2026 now. It was very strange. And I think that's a sign that, well, hold on, if IBM is having trouble, IonQs can't keep their computer online at all. What's Vivek gonna do? Is he gonna run for Ohio? Rigetti is a very expensive quantum machine that requires intense calibration, and we don't know if they even have a working computer. Well, if they don't work, then we can't trust when they say, oh, there are 30 qubits or 100 qubits, there are no qubits. The buyers aren't really buyers, though. There's no serious buyer of quantum compute time. Baggie here, the computers work. Just trust. Thank you, Baggie. You may be seated. Oh, annealing is the biggest joke of all, Troy. Yeah, Vinay puts it really well. The collinearity is here. You can't even use your real name. You're such a coward. Baggie's anonymous. At least come out with a real name. You're trading your $3,000 Robinhood account. I trade more in one trade's commission. One trade commission costs more than your entire portfolio. Wrong, fake anonymous guy, so we can't tell the difference. You're right. You know what? You're Bill Gates. I'm sorry, Mr. Gates. You're just mad. You're probably long Rigetti or something. You don't even know what it is, and you bought it. Probably bought it at 18 too. Romit, I don't think you can monetize quantum chemistry because ultimately it's like a very academic question that some professors will care about, but at the end of the day, and I talked to a material scientist from Blue Origin, and he said no, he doesn't see how it'd be that helpful. I certainly don't see how it's helpful from a pharmaceutical standpoint. So it's kind of like you're just making up potential applications that are not even real. Yeah, I mean, on the academic side, you could have, the Google guy told me 100 million potential revenue does not move the needle. Even $1 billion doesn't move the needle for Google. And again, the weirdest thing about this whole thing is I love quantum computing. Just like the stock part of my brain overrides the hobby part of my brain. Yeah, 0, that's right, that's good. I don't think Novo Nordisk is that exciting. Don't have a new insulin as far as I know. Oh, interesting, Roman. Charles, it's less. At some point, that might be true, Ryan. But you could also argue the other way around too. Open some positions in large caps especially, so you can safely make some trades, some slow-moving large caps with calls and puts, and you learn how it all works that way, I think. I don't think you should trade if you have less than, I don't know, at least at bare minimum 25K. And that's bare minimum. Now, if you love investing and you want to be an investor no matter what, that's going to be your life's goal and passion, different story. I think sometimes on stocks, you do have to give up, Intellia, VKTX. There are stocks where you like them, they go down, you're wrong, you just got to give up. At the end of the day, that's it. I don't know if there are that many books, Joe. I don't know, Brian, probably not. It depends on how much they go down and stuff like that. It is at least by the book, the most profitable way to do it. And most traders give up and they want to cover their short because how much money can I make? It's already gone down, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is like, that's the cream. That's actually the, what do they call that? I don't know if it's cream of the crop. I haven't looked at liquidity in a long time. Well, I was thinking about it being like the important part of the trade, like the meat. That's really the meat of the trade, I guess. Yeah, they're working on insulin, but at the end of the day, Novo is a GLP story. They're one of the oldest insulin companies. I mean, they helped invent the commercialization of insulin. But, they're not, and nobody cares about immediate acting insulin is what we have now. But I think what they're probably talking about is insulin that will, I guess, deploy based on your sugar levels. Okay, the first and only FDA-approved treatment for bipolar 1, 2, and bipolar 1 and 2, also approved for schizophrenia, submitted for major depressive disorder, could become the standard of care for most common depressive disorders. Also got a pipeline. Okay, I guess ITI-1284 is just lumateperone for deuterated lumateperone, which is their extension strategy, which I'm sure senators will not like. That's amazing. They chose a site for their new fab, but the park owners said that all they did was call them. They didn't actually buy the site. That's it. It's a short report, but it's pretty telling. I remember going to Columbia for one calculus class, and I would take my compact Rosario. And this is the thing that actually there was a little beef between me and Vivek over this, and other people, where I took this class at Columbia, but it was kind of off the books. And so it was arranged while I was in high school with the dean of students at Columbia, a guy named 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And I'm not making this up. You can go call that guy. And so sometimes I would refer to that class. I'd even put it in a resume, but I've never said I graduated from there or anything like that. But, there was this nitpicking of like, well, you said you took this class at Columbia, but they don't do visiting students. It even was in my criminal case. And it's like, look, I don't need to pretend that I could get into Columbia. But, it's important when you say something that you provide, unambiguous detail. Because otherwise, people will say, oh, well, you said this, but this isn't true. Well, I said this, but you weren't listening. It was just a side deal between me and the dean. He's like, look, here's the class. And he even set me up with this woman named Michelle, who was a senior at Columbia at the time. I might have had a little crush on her. And I have all the emails from way back when. My Yahoo email from 20 years ago. So it's annoying. Vivek said, oh, Martin lies. That's the only thing he thought I lied about. And the reality is it was not a lie. I just don't think he knew that. It was for calculus. You don't put that out in the book. You approach me, it's kind of a weaselly thing to do. But again, I also respect the fact that in politics, nobody has any friends. You want to be in the politics game, it's pretty ruthless. Yeah, I guess, Roz, but most of the scariest guys at prison, the scariest guys, the guys who were like clinical, there were a lot of insane dudes. I basically decided to increase my position in quantum and decrease my position in everything else. I basically put the 50 Cent song on and I said, it's time to go ham. This is like a once every 2-3 year opportunity. The number one thing I'd say is if somebody makes you millions of dollars, like multiple times your money, you should not be testifying against that person in federal court. Even if you don't like what they did, that's what I think. Vivek did not testify. I mean, listen, I'm not such a street guy that I don't think somebody should never, ever testify in court. Now, I wouldn't do it. If you find that you were wronged and you need to testify against the person so they get justice or you get justice and they get punished, fine, good, go for it. But if you're just in business and they made you a lot of money, it's kind of a ridiculous thing to do. The way it works is anybody can call anybody. But there's an old saying in law, which is you never ever call a witness unless you know exactly what they're going to say. So they rehearse with the feds. And all you got to do is say, listen, you guys want to grill this guy. I'm not comfortable testifying. I feel two ways about it. On one hand, I don't like this, but on the other hand, I kind of force you to say what they want, what they think will play well in front of the jury. And they, in fact, the funniest thing is they really cook up like the weak points. So let's say one of the weak points was, okay, it was a woman and she's testifying against you. This actually happened to me. There was a woman on the stand that worked for me, and we went on a date before we started working together. And we were going to point that out. And the prosecutor did this before. And before we could even get to asking the witness, the prosecutor asked first. They said, and so you said you went on a date with Martin? And she was like, yes, I did. So they like planned the script before that. Now, I don't even remember what happened in my case, but it was something like, Carolyn Ellison did this, I think. She basically could say something like, well, he manipulated me. And then when I found out the truth, that he was terrible. And we found a letter this lady sent me while we were working together. She said, I think you're the most kind, compassionate, caring, wonderful person I've ever worked with. And we read that out loud and we said, what is this? The feds have a way of just winning the case. They always win the case. She was a colleague of mine at my hedge fund. She was terrible at what she did. I felt bad because she was a single mom and she had suffered a heart attack. So she was sick. She really needed a job. I figured, why not? And over the years, I've learned that she had a heart failure, basically. So I felt bad. We just knew each other in the industry. It wasn't like a real date. It was more like having dinner together. There's a little bit of a maybe. I gave her a salary and I wanted to help her. I didn't think she would. Oh, the other funny thing was we gave her like 1% of my drug company or something, right? And she was just not making much money, but she wasn't trying. I was paying her salary, but she wasn't trying that hard at work. And I was just like, you're useless. But we still gave her like founder shares of the drug company. And then the drug company started doing really well. And we called her up and we were like, hey, we'd like to buy out your founder shares for $25,000. The founder shares are worth $500,000, in our opinion. We didn't tell her that. And she was like, oh, those aren't worth anything. Are you really willing to pay money for them? Yeah, she lost, I think they would have been worth over $1 million. You don't always hire great people, but I think that the vindictiveness of like, I didn't like working there, therefore this company failed, is like, no, you're the failure. We just paid her a regular salary. I think we bought out the stock for like $5K. I don't remember, but the point is. But like I said, I was young. I felt bad. I had a lot in my heart. I wasn't a ruthless over by so many people, so many times, for such small amounts of money. For some people, $100,000 just is so life-changing that they will absolutely betray you and throw you under the bus. And over time, I've just learned to be like, hey, you know what? I don't trust anybody. Yeah, that's right, Western Balkans knows. A lot of people, they don't have the vision of, well, if I own 20% of this company or 5% of this company and it's worth $5 billion, I'm going to be this wealthy. They just think about, okay, how do I pay off my mortgage? Nah, vapor, it's fine. They'll get diluted anyway. Yeah, but most people don't have that talent. That's the thing I saw. My old colleague, స్థివ 𝗏𝗏𝗚𝗏, I was pretty surprised by it because he'd been in pharma for a long time. I thought he had made some money. If you are good at your job, making 5 million or 10 million should be easy. But I think a lot of these guys just don't have that faith in their talent. I mean, you could take every dollar from me. Every year on January 1st, you could take every penny from me. And by the end of the year, December 31st, I'll be rich as hell. So thankfully the world doesn't work that way. But, it's just, if you have no faith about your abilities, then, you try to grab every dollar you can whenever you can. If you have lots of faith on your abilities, you kind of treat money a lot less seriously. And so you're willing to give people a fat contract and trust them. But you can't, I've learned you can't really do that.